The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by Bachmann Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmanntrains.com. Scaletrains.com. Innovative Scale Trains. Check out their website at scaletrains.com. And thank you very much for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week podcast, number 47.5. This is a special edition podcast for September 1st, 2018. And tonight I've got with me Joshua Barton and Michael Budde, and I've also got a special guest with us, Craig Walker. Now, this show is about showing the interviews that I've received from the various sponsors that we've had currently on the show. This is their chance to shine and tell us about their passion for the industry. And believe you me, they all have the passion because they do what they like to do every day. But before we go to Craig Walker, I want to talk about this auction that we have on eBay to raise money for Lionel Strang, our friend. And Michael, tell me about this.
Well, it's a Scale Trains 4785 covered hopper. I'm not sure. I can't remember the number, but anyway, it was weathered by me, faded and weathered, and we're auctioning it off on eBay. The proceeds will go to Lionel Strang's One More Year Foundation, which in turn donates money to the Princess Margaret Cancer Research Center in Ontario, Canada, which helps Lionel achieve what many of us could only hope.
Now, the car was put on eBay on Wednesday to go for a 10-day auction, and it will end 20 minutes into our show that we do on September 8th. So we'll be shooting that show around 9:30 Central Time on September 8th. And the auction, I think, ends around 9:40 something time. I don't know for sure, but you can check it out on the eBay listings. I will put a link to the eBay onto the description of this podcast, and it's also on last week's 47 podcast. So it's very nice that you did this, Mike. The weathering looks fantastic. Somebody's going to have a very, very beautiful model to add to their collection. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we're doing something for this wonderful thing that we need to get rid of called cancer. Now, Mike, I'm going to blank out on you, but real quick, we've got this pumpkin on the table, and I want to say thank you very much, guys, for the pumpkin.
Jamie Lee.
I know, aren't they the best? Jamie blew this out of glass for us, so we've got our first decoration for this year.
That's awesome.
The only other thing that I want to do now is, I know there's something in there I forgot, but I do want to talk to Craig Walker before we see the interviews that run from scaletrains.com, where Shawn Wilson will be interviewed. It's a really good interview with him, and also a very good interview from Rich Janyszek from Bachmann Trains. He gave us a fantastic interview at the NMRA show out there in Kansas City. But tonight, we want to get Craig Walker from Athearn Trains on board with the podcast. Now, you are out in beautiful, sunny California, Craig. I can see you've got that gorgeous background behind you there as the screen freezes. But the point is, every day when you wake up, you get to work in the industry that you love, model trains. And that's something we tried to stress last week on the show, that there's careers in this show for any young guy out there that thinks about a career in this hobby. But Craig, tell us about your passion for trains with Athearn.
Well, thanks for calling me a young guy.
Hey, we're all young at heart.
That's right.
I don't know, ask my cardiologist. But I'm prepared. As I always say, it's a fun job, but somebody's got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time it's we look forward to going to work because we like doing what we do, and we like the whole idea, the concept of making something that people enjoy.
You do that. Your product is just wonderful. The quality of the models these days just keeps impressing everybody out there.
Yeah.
Now, I would say that you had a passion for trains because you've gone up through the industry. You've been in this model train industry, so to speak, for almost your entire life, starting with hobby shops that you used to own, and then you worked for Microscale. Would you like to talk to us about that, to inspire the young people out there about what they look forward to, the road to travel, like the road you traveled?
Well, Well, you don't get rich doing it. But no, I mean, I've done this. I've been interested in trains since I was a kid. My older brother was into it, and infected me. It skipped every other sibling in my family, but I got hooked. And since I was 16, I've basically worked in this industry in some form or another, and I'm way older than that now. So I can't complain. I've had a lot of fun, met a lot of cool people, gotten to do a lot of cool things, and still enjoying it. I mean, and I'm cutting off the top of my bald pate there. Let me adjust the camera. So I have no complaints.
So the next time folks walk up at a trade show, they'll know your face and they'll remember that smile. And I guess they're going to introduce themselves. That'll be neat because that's something that Mike Budde and Joshua both experienced out in Kansas City, and it's kind of a good feeling. But absolutely, we get an awful lot of views on this show. And Craig, I want to really thank you for sponsoring the What's Neat This Week podcast. I know that I said to you one time at the trade show that you and I need to talk so that we go over how we present the product for Athearn Trains, and just want to make sure we're doing it in the best light that we can.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that. Any publicity is good publicity, they say, but good publicity is better than bad publicity, obviously.
Right.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. Now, I want to say to Mike, what was that freight car bid up to so far? We've been monitoring the auction since Wednesday.
$255.
So $255 so far to be given to that Princess Margaret. Okay, very good. Craig, I think that was wonderful. It was great to see your scenery out there. Is there anything else that you'd like to say in closing to us, fans of the What's Neat show, who all love the product that you guys manufacture?
Keep on buying stuff.
We got a lot of things in the works. We'll be announcing some new models. I believe we've got one we're going to announce at Milwaukee in November, and then we've got more coming up. If not by the end of this year, early next year, we'll have several new models that we'll be announcing.
That's awesome.
Great.
Fantastic.
Looking
Man,
forward to it.
It looks like I wish I could be out there with you. It's so beautiful out there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. It was pretty hot earlier, but it's cooled off now.
You're awesome, Craig. Man, thank you very much for taking out the time to be with us. And don't leave the screen now. We're going to keep you on screen as we close out to launch into the next interview, which will be that of Shawn Wilson from ScaleTrains.com. And then after that, we'll listen to Rich Janyszek from Bachmann Trains. Part of the magic of the hobby of model trains is the people that you meet. And Shawn Wilson, I've known you for many years.
How you doing, Ken?
And you were my boss at one time when I worked for Athearn, and I appreciate you giving me that chance. It took me 13 years of cold calling to land that account. And we did some different work. We did outdoor photography and just really neat stuff. In the transition of working with you, I learned that you were a very smart businessman and that you had aspirations and dreams. And you're a perfect example of one of the individuals in this hobby that took your dream and turned it into a reality. I would say that you've got a real passion. Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for the really kind words. I'm humbled and appreciative. You know, this is something I've done since I was a small boy. Had an opportunity when I was a teenager to actually start my own hobby store. That lasted a few years, and then the store closed. It wasn't really making a lot of money, and went to work for Horizon, which ended up being the parent company of Athearn. Was blessed to be a part of the acquisition of Athearn back in the 90s. I guess I've been in the early 2000s, and then MDC, and then with McHenry, and really watched Athearn flourish. With the Ready to Roll brand, really grew and became a real big piece of the Athearn pie. And of course, Genesis grew a lot during that era. And I was fortunate enough to be on the marketing side, helped the sales department a ton during that time.
Yes, you did.
And learned a lot. And there were some opportunities. There were some ideas that we brought to the table, and it just didn't fit Athearn at that point in the ball game. And as fate and time would have, at the National Train Show down in Atlanta, Mike and I traveled a ton together. He and I got to be really good friends. Mike led product development at Athearn. I led marketing, and one of those things where one of us makes a joke about wouldn't it be neat to start your own model train company? Yeah, right. How would we ever do that? Yeah. But it was that seed, and that seed was germinated, and it really grew from there. And the good Lord had to line up a lot of things for us to have this opportunity. And I don't know how much of the story you want to hear. I mean, we can.
How many years into it are you now for this?
In the hobby?
Yes. No, for the new business, scaletrains.com.
For the new business, we started in May of 2014. So we're just over 4 years.
And now you guys have got your own property and your own building.
Mm-hmm, right.
And that's worked out pretty good for you.
Yeah, that's a great story. So we, because of my non-compete agreement, I had to move from Central Illinois, and I had to be at least 150 miles away. And we decided my wife and I always wanted to retire in the mountains of Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, and we ended up in Southeast Tennessee, and blessed to be on 12 acres and have a wonderful home. And we were going to build a building on that property, and my wife, there was a place across the street, across the highway, and we're on a main 4-lane highway between Knoxville and Atlanta, and she kept saying, you need to go see this place. I'm like, yeah, but it looks so terrible, it needs all this work. And so we got some bids in to build on our property, and I said, honey, I'm going across the street to see how much that building is. Of course,
Right,
she always knows best.
right.
And it all worked out. We actually ended up buying the building, the property next door. We sit on about 7 acres, and we've got about 3,300 square feet between the office and the warehouse. So it worked out really well.
That's really great. I can't tell you how great it is to be able to just hear your story, because it inspires other people out there. There's room in the hobby to grow.
Absolutely.
And I see this company just continuing. There's no end. This is a name. It's a brand.
Well, that's very flattering. I'm very appreciative. We've had a vision since the beginning. When we first got together, and we started there in May of 14, in June of 14, we have a strategic planning meeting every year, and we have a mid-year update. And we had our first strategic planning meeting, and we sat down and we said, okay, let's look at every manufacturer in HO. Let's look at every manufacturer in. What do they do well? What could they do better? Now, what can we do that can take what they do well and take what they can do better and do better? And what are the fresh ideas that we can bring to the market? You look at our first project, of course, was the big blow turbine,
I love that model.
The turbine is awesome, and all the features, and you look at the curve, or you hear the curve squeal and the frog clank sound, the presentation box, and the museum quality. That was a flag planning locomotive for us, but it was really to show our potential customers what we can do and what we can bring to the market.
You knocked it out of the park on that one. You sent me one of those. I featured it on December 2017 What's Neat video, and it was really neat to discover all the things and advancements that you did do, because I got to tell you, for years of being in the industry, I can see the differentiation of model quality.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And one thing that I would say that your company did is you really pushed the detail. You pushed the detail to the point of it really pushed production.
Oh yeah.
To where we've discovered there's a level where you almost have to throttle back so production can do it.
Yeah, it's been interesting. You talk about that detail level. Of course, with Athearn, we were there with Genesis, and we even saw some opportunities to go beyond Genesis at Athearn. But you look at N-Scale, and we just recently shipped the N-Scale Tier 4 Gevo. And the comments that we hear back is how we're raising the bar, setting new standards for locomotives. When we first went to the factory and said, we want you to install the grab irons at N-Scale, I mean, they're like, have you lost your mind? We want to bring lighting effects and flashing ditch lights front and rear like for NS. The factory just was like, there's no way. We can't bring this to N-Scale. It's like, there has to be a way. Because if we can elevate, when you look at what happened with Genesis and HO and how it elevated the industry, we're like, we want to do the same thing in N-Scale. And so, we're hoping that the products that we bring to market really challenge, the industry. Can we do better models? Can we bring more features? Can we bring more functions? And so that's where we're going.
I'll tell you what, folks, this is a man to watch. He's going to do good things for the hobby. And as a hobbyist and enthusiast, let me just thank you for what you've done for us already, Shane.
Well, Ken, thanks for your time here. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for all the coverage. You've been a great supporter all these years, and it's very much appreciated.
You're the best, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
For this segment of What's Neat, we're going to discuss model trains with the guys from Bachmann. And I'm standing here with Rich, the CEO of Bachmann. And Rich, you've been with Bachmann Senior Vice President. You've been with Bachmann for a long time. I think about 15 years I've seen you. I've been working with them for photography for almost 17 with an off year there.
You've been here longer than me.
Well, I want to say that's true. I got to be with Dick Maddox, which was a treat. You worked under Bud.
Yes.
Now, you've been the boss now, I want to say, what was your title?
Senior Vice President.
For 5 years. How has it been working out for you here at Bachmann?
It's a great company to work with. The people that we have are phenomenal. The industry is second to none. And the people that I've met over the last 15 years are phenomenal. You develop relationships that last, forever. So it's a great industry to be in.
Kumbaya. That's exactly what I think when I come to these shows. It's a small show, it's a small fish tank, but the quality of people that you meet become lifelong friends.
Absolutely.
It's not a competitive environment at these trade shows.
No, we really do share a lot of information. We hurt when our competitors hurt. We celebrate when they have a winner. So it really is a friendship that is, again, is second to none in any other industry.
Now you represent, which is arguably the biggest company in the industry in the United States.
We like to think so.
Well, it is. The numbers speak for themselves, and they're on their Cater website. You can look them up every year. They're beautiful. So good job. Hats off to you for that success. But tell me, Rich, you have got to have a passion for trains to be in this industry. Tell me a little bit about your passion for trains.
Basically, I think I started as a kid. HO product was, where I started, and always, continued in that vein. That's why you'll see maybe, the majority of our line is HO, so maybe there's a little bit of personal preference, which you'll always get from either a product development standpoint or from a management standpoint. So whatever you'll always kind of see that little weight towards what you like the best. And thank goodness that's really where the industry kind of is. HO really is king in this industry.
That's great. You're the gentleman that sits in the back behind the lines, and you're kind of calling the shots and making the decisions. Are you in a lot of YouTube videos? Do you appear on you guys have a Bachmann website that has YouTube videos?
Yeah, I don't. I personally don't. We try to basically have people that are much more knowledgeable than I am, and I don't pretend to be. So, I would rather basically, if you're going to ask particular questions about, what this locomotive, the workings of a locomotive, the history of a locomotive, I could tell you basically people that'll bring those out you would interview that would get a lot more out of them than you would out of me. So I know when to step back.
I want to say part of your magic is that I saw in you in the past 15 years was you never did jump out in front. You always stayed behind, in the back. You were always ears and listening. You learned a lot by having that strategy.
These guys are, again, it's, we have some of the best people, I think, in the industry, and if you do, then you just let them do what they know how to do.
Right.
You don't overmanage people because, again, it's, they know what's hot. They know what the people are asking for, and when it comes to numbers, I can interject there, but when it comes to basically the particular locomotive, there's people in our company that can tell you that better than me.
So it's Rich Janyszek, right?
Yes.
I said that correct?
You
One of
did.
the best kept secrets in Philadelphia right here.
I think you're trying to...
Well, you're the guy that we don't get to see all the time, but I'm really happy to have you on What's Neat because it shows what's behind the company.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Rich.
All right, good talking to you.
Right. And this gives you a perfect example of the great people that are in this industry. I get to work with these guys every day, and I love it. And it's always good to find out who it is that's in the background of the greatest hobby in the world. These are the guys that actually produce the models that we love. And so with that, Joshua, what do you say we go run some trains, huh, guys?
That sounds like a great idea.
So that closes out this special edition podcast number 47.5 for September 1st. And look forward to seeing you next week on September 8th to see how this auction turns out.
Right.
Get your bids in.